LATC funds.
Yes. So you may remember in the overarching ARPA package, there were additional funds allocated for counties with federal lands.
Yes.
And this is the local area tribal consistency funds. We received $168,000, $168,634.72. I would like to get that allocated as soon as possible because I fear that continuing to send in reports that we have not spent the money yet may indicate to the federal government that we don't need it. And I have spoken with our highway administrator, Ms. Beatles, and we believe that an appropriate place to spend that would be on the Red Bridge project because it does take place, it does reside within those lands.
What are the restrictions on those funds specifically, remind me?
Cannot be used for lobbying.
Cannot be used for lobbying.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, they're wide open to spend at our discretion.
Yes.
Okay, so if we, and it's
$68,000.
$168,000, we divert that to the Red Bridge project, which we don't really know where we're at monetarily because we haven't gone out to bid on that project. Ultimately, we may have an excess somewhere, potentially. We may not. We just don't know. Is there, I don't know how I want to say this, diverting those LATC funds to that project frees up or potentially frees up additional ARPA funds? Are we prepared to utilize those somewhere else, or do we think that it's going to exhaust itself completely?
My best guess would be that it's not going to free up anything just
Okay.
because the ARPA funds were allocated in 2021 and prices have increased.
Sure.
So
Okay.
that would be my comment.
So it's a wise and fiscally responsible position to divert those over to that project to get them allocated, is to not lose them.
Correct.
And we know that everything costs more than it did 3 years ago.
Yeah. And that while that project lies fully within the forest, the east side of that bridge also is government land to the north and south. So it's even more Mark Twain than some of Mark Twain that's private property. And that's kind of where I'm hoping to assign those funds to.
Okay. That's good enough for me.
All right. Then I would entertain a motion, sir.
So moved.
I second the motion, and then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, Auditor Dent. You have a second thing for us?
I do.
Thank you.
Kind of following along the lines of freeing up ARPA funds. For a couple of years, I've kind of had something in the back of my mind on how to protect those funds, and now I've decided to pull the trigger, so I've made a map
Okay.
of what we will do, what I would like to do with those funds. So, if you start on the first page, we start with $10 million of unrestricted ARPA funds. We've spent almost $1 million of those. The dollar figures are on there. The remaining $9.1 million, I would like to utilize to reimburse general revenue for operating expenses for 2022 and 2023, since there are no restrictions on those funds. We had $14 million of expenses in general revenue. So if we use that to reimburse those funds, that amount can be reported to the U.S. Treasury, and that will be the end of it as far as the Treasury is concerned. So from there, we are free to do with it as we please, and I would recommend allocating those to our capital projects funds from that point.
And what is Fund 256?
That is the new capital building fund that was set up this year, so that we can save money have a place to set aside money to build the new campus and have a place to allocate funds when it comes for building projects in the future.
And so if we follow the map that you have here, then the issue on ARPA funds and so forth is effectively over?
Except for $2.8 million that we need to have allocated. That would reduce the amount we need allocated by the end of the year to $2.827 million.
And is that 2.8 a restricted amount?
Yes.
And those restrictions are?
Watershed projects, COVID mitigation.
Okay. Which we have basically spent, right, on paper.
I don't believe all of the 2.8 is countywide stormwater, but quite a bit.
Okay.
So yes, we'll be able to, like, on my end, I'll be able to operate my restricted funds, which is that countywide stormwater.
Yes, ma'am.
But there were some, basically everything that wasn't bridges, I believe, would be those restricted funds. So all
Okay.
those previously approved requests.
And then the final pages are just the funds and the actual account codes and the changes that are being requested. And the good news is, you don't have to decide today.
Sure.
Because by statute, it has to lay out for 10 days.
Yes. So, is this a, practice being utilized by other agencies, or is this a unique to Christian County Auditor Dent created process?
It is not unique to Auditor Dent.
Okay, perfect. Well, the only reason I say that is because it seems like a very easy way to address the situation that relieves a lot of pressure on you. And if other people are doing it, then it's more likely to be an accepted practice, which is a good thing. You know, so we're not rolling the dice here. We're utilizing a process that other people are using, which is makes my decision making a little bit easier. You know, not that I don't trust you. I do trust you very much so, and I think this is a great alternative. So, excited to wait 10 days to gather a little more data and make a decision.
And the key element of this is the ability to pay general revenue operating expenses from 2022 and 2023.
Correct.
And that is in the statute, that is in the documentation from them, not from us. So we're not in any way, shape, or form crossing over into unknown territory there. It's spelled out.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then at this point in time, I'm assuming we just need to lay this over for at least 10 days.
Yes.
And then take it up again.
If we could meet back on June 6th.
Okay.
And this has already been online for almost a week.
Okay. All right. Mr. Jackson, anything else to add to that?
Nobody's checking my calendar for June 6th.
Is that a...
It's a Thursday.
Oh, wow, okay.
I was thinking it was, so...
Yes. It's 14 days.
Okay. Sorry. Time's getting away from me. A lot of things going on.
That's blood drive day.
Oh, yeah. That's 2 blood drive days.
Oh, well, forgot
The
that.
Sertoma Duck Race Festival is having a blood drive. I didn't plan it. And then we're having one here. So you can give blood twice that day. Just don't tell the second place that you've already given. Perfect.
All right. And Miss Amy, thank you for those, and thank you for your work on that. Highway Administrator Beatles, I'm excited about this. Miss Beatles, talk to us.
Good morning. So I'm here today to request your approval of awarding the Woods Fork Bridge project to West Plains Bridge Company. They were the lowest and best bidder out of 2 bidders for this project, which essentially is replacing a low water slab crossing that continually floods and makes people very unhappy on Woods Fork Road. Kind of traps them behind it when waters get really high, with an elevated slab, single span crossing, so no piers, no concrete bottom to allow fish passage, which allowed us to also receive a grant from Missouri Department of Conservation. Sorry guys, too much coffee. In the amount of $162,000 that will be applied towards this total. So the other part of this is we listed in the bid documents that construction needs to be completed by November 1st. And spoke to the contractor earlier this week. They said that they will definitely be able to adhere to that date. Recommending your approval for award to West Plains for the Woods Fork project in the amount of $495,000.
Okay, and remind me again, does the water still go over this?
It will in extreme situations.
Okay.
However, this will raise the approaches and raise the height of the slab.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And so water on a normal situation goes under the roadway?
yes. So
1 or
90
2 or 3, what?
What's
is
the
it-
clearance?
Are there any?
It'll be about 6 feet above where it is now.
Okay.
So if you consider the amount of times closed per year as 100 right now, probably about 95% of those times will not be an issue anymore.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, I love that. Any other questions from you, Bradley?
So the lowest bid was $495, and of that $495, 100 and something
162.5.
is going to come through a grant.
Be reimbursed by a grant, yes.
Okay. So we're down to 330-ish thousand for the project, and you have good confidence in the company,
Yes.
West Plains Bridge and Grading.
Yes.
I know our requirements are lowest and or best,
Yeah.
and lowest sometimes isn't always the best.
Good
But-
references and good example projects.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So you have high confidence. I'm good.
Yep.
I'll entertain a motion, sir.
I would make that motion.
I second that motion, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any communications from you, Mr. Jackson, today?
No, the only thing I have is Miss Beatles has a title that needs to be signed on a bucket truck, and you're the acting presiding commissioner, and if you would like to sign that, so
Not
they can...
responsible for any debts other than my own. That, yeah, I'll sign it.
It's paid for.
Anything else?
It's paid for, we just need to get it entitled.
Okay. Anything else that needs to come before us today?
I don't believe so.
I declare this meeting adjourned.
Oh, just